Hey, this is going to be a very quick video. I'm going to make sure you have 16 tips that I wish I had known before I had started playing Sweet Transit. I'm not bashing the game in any way, shape, or form. I'm just trying to give you little bits of information that'll save you a bunch of time, a lot of Googling, and a lot of going, how does this work? How does that work? There's a very small development team on this. They don't have a lot of time. I'm going to try to step in a little bit where I can. I've got about 20 hours played of the game since they gave me the full release about a week ago. The game should come out, like, when this video goes live, the game should have came out like maybe an hour ago. So a lot of you are going to be like, how does this work? I'm going to save you some time. Okay? Want to see the rest? Let's get into it. Okay, let's move my face out of the way because we're going to go into this very rapid fire. I think the game's a really good game. I've really enjoyed my time in it so far. I want to give some of these little tips out as quick as I possibly can. And you don't need to see my face here in a giant big corner taking up a huge amount of valuable real estate. So let me just move this over really quick. Whoop, there we go. Now, what we're going to do, move this over a little bit like this. I'm going to go through the points as quick as I can. So, then I'm going to put them in chapters at the bottom so you can go from chapter to chapter to chapter. I'm also going to make a sticky for the first comment from myself, explaining in order with timestamps, boop, 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 exactly what each item is with the shortest description possible. It might be like switches, trains, depots, cities, whatever I can to make it as easily and accessible to all of you as possible. Hopefully, if you like what you see there, you can share it with other people playing the game. That way they can use it as well. Or unless someone writes a better guide, then this thing becomes defunct. We never review it again. Whichever works, I don't mind. I like when little games like this get a little bit of love. And hopefully by the end of today's video, whether you're a new person, a returning person, or someone who's seen me from time to time bounce around the community for this, I can earn your subscription today. I'm not trying to say you should follow the channel or subscribe to it. I want to earn it. So that's all I'm saying, okay? Let's go into it. Now, the first thing we're going to do is this is how you upgrade your existing train. This is important. It's not spelled anywhere out that I really know of, and it makes things look very... It's probably one of the few features that they probably need to like kind of revisit. But let's say you want to go to an existing train. Let's say this potatoes to MC, right? And you're like, I don't know if this train is doing what I want. Well, you can select the train via the route, which is Control R to get to this menu, and then you can go to the train and say, okay, well, here's the train. I don't think I like this train. I think it should be better. It should be bigger. So go Control T. Let's go to our preset for the train. Let's see, do we have a preset for this train? We do. We have a 4-box wagon tier 1 train. So let's say we want to make a new one. We're going to make a new preset. Now you can copy the current preset with hold left control down and left click. Click. You have a new preset. We're going to call this 5-boxcar. Sorry, my taping is very bad when I'm trying to do this at the same time. Boxcar setup. And all we're going to do is add one more boxcar. Boop. Now it's done. And you don't have to push anything. There's no save feature, which threw me off for a loop because a lot of games, if you want to confirm a setup, you have to hit OK, save it, whatever. You don't have to do that here. Now, how do you use it? Well, we're here to a train. It's got 4 boxcars, so we're going to upgrade the train. Now, I would recommend, and please pay attention, if you're going to upgrade a train, wait till it's delivered its precious cargo, especially if it's something like food for your people to survive. If not, as the trains sit here, the food disappears because the minute you go to this, here's how you upgrade. You go to edit train, and you either send a train depot, or you upgrade it. Set to multi-drive, grants train ability to drive in reverse. No, we're going to go for upgrade, okay? Now what we're going to do, here's the top one, and we're going to go to the new one at the bottom, which is right here, okay? So notice how there's one extra car, and that's it. The upkeep will go up by $10 for the $10 a minute for the extra car. Now, the minute you do this, watch the train is right here, okay? Watch what happens to the train. I'm going to make sure I zoom in. I know this is kind of like some of the basic stuff for some of you. For the rest of you, you're like, I want to see this. Good. The train disappears. The train is then teleported to your train depot. It is now upgraded. It'll automatically deploy unless there's a train in its path. That includes if the train is too long for the signal in front. So that's one of the reasons you want your depot to be farther behind, okay? Now, point 2 is something minor. I want to make sure you understand what's in the train to make sure you know when you want to upgrade it. So we're going to go over to a train. Let's say we're going to go to this coal train. And I saw a lot of people doing this in their playthroughs and stuff like that. It's very simple once you see it, but sometimes people gloss over it. I did many times till someone pointed out to me. I want to see what's in the train. And I clicked on the train, and then nothing came up. And I was like, well, there's nothing here. There's nothing here. Maybe I have to click on the cars. And you do. You click on the cars, you see how much coal is in each car. On the first menu, though, there's a little button called All. And it shows you how much is total in the train. And you can, from according to the developer and other people I've asked, put multiple cars on the same train of different kinds, go to a station, hit the All button when it's done, and you'll see everything on the train. Okay? Let's move on to the next point. The next point is upgrading your train, should you or shouldn't you? And this one comes in under this setup under here for presets. I'm going to show you this right here and right here. Now my face is a little bit in the way, so I'm going to move it down. The S10 is the starting locomotive. If you look over here on the side, and it'll show you some of the stats. If you like scroll over, you can see the stats. The top speed is 30 kilometers an hour. The corner speed is 20 kilometers an hour. Ramp speed 20. Bridge speed 30. It says brake powder, front power, brake powder, mass, cargo. What we're looking for, however, is fuel. It carries 500 fuel, and it eats 4 fuel a second. The coal tender can hold 1,200 fuel, giving you a double and a half fuel tank. The ST20, the reason we're comparing these two, I want to show you the last stat right here at the bottom. This one holds 500. This one holds 500. This one burns 4 per second. This one burns 5 per second. It is faster. It hauls more powerfully. It's stronger. It's longer. It goes everything. It can do everything else. However, and here's why I showed you this. When your empire is very, very small and you have very little, tiny little industries going to a very short location on very short track, you do not need to upgrade. You'll waste a tremendous amount of upkeep. And I want to make sure you see what the upkeep is on these engines. The engine for the ST10 is $10 upkeep. For the ST20, it's exactly double and 20% more fuel. So you have to haul more fuel and you have to pay more money. Now that might not matter, but if you're going to try to optimize a little bit and try to be as efficient as you possibly can, coming from me, that's weird, but you might want to go, hey, this one train is going to go a very short distance into a location, dump some fuel cargo. Does it need to be the big powerful one? Where would it need to be a powerful one? Like down here to your warehouse, where it's really far of a distance to go from, let's say, Sawmill 3 all the way. Now that would be pretty good as soon as I can upgrade that train to an ST20. And the upgrade thing I mentioned in step 1 is exactly how you can do that very quickly. Okay, let's move on to the next one. The next point is your towns. Your towns are going to get big. They're going to get very big. They can be multiple towns connected to each other, though they're not really connected. So keep that in mind and plan for it. If you're like, what are you going to put your town? I, in the beginning, put my town right against the ocean. I thought this was awesome. It's terrible. One of the best ways to make a town is to put a small little area for fishing and then everything around it as best you can from the station outward. It's not perfect. You're going to find something good or bad, however you want to do. But don't block yourself in like I did. My first town was something like this. It had a giant river, it had a giant ocean, and it had a giant mountain. Now, what does that do? You can't expand through the mountain. You can't expand here. So all I could do is expand this little area here. Please make sure you know that and plan for it. Future expansion, especially when your first town, you might not want to put it where there's a bunch of, it might be cozy, but be careful. It can really screw you long term. Okay? Let's go to the next point. The next point is your warehouse. Your warehouse should be pretty central from what you're going to plan to do for the first couple hours. Now, I started right here with my town. You can see it. And you can see there's clay resources, which become brick. There's coal. Trees, potatoes grow everywhere, but not in this biome, I don't believe. I've only seen trees and potatoes grow in green biomes. The reason I put it here, it's very central. It's in the middle of nowhere. And when you're getting your warehouse up and running, having nothing else slam into it and slam in the area and try to nestle it in helps a lot. If I had put the warehouse over here, like I'm already having, if you zoom out, you can see there's a lot of trains backing up on here. This will screw you up. Try to keep your warehouse a little farther away from your empire, not too much. Like this one was, I placed this down as the game started, and it was a pretty long haul to get over there. I'd gone a different way, and I expanded it to make sure this thing had happened. You can put these on all 4 sides. As long as they're in range, it doesn't matter for the warehouse. It's not a town. It'll accept the cargo as long as it's in range touching this warehouse, okay? So I think you can also use a distribution house here. You can put a tremendous amount of stuff in a very close proximity to import a lot of goods very quickly. But you want to make sure it's not going to cut off other resources. It's not going to, like, there's not going to be towns around here. So make sure you plan for it, use it, and make it work for you. Let's go on to the next point. The next point is coal and fuel and food. Coal is fuel, but fuel and food will make your entire empire run. Now, that sounds very simplistic, and it is. But the problem with it is it doesn't tell you exactly how much is tied together. I was playing a game, late game, and what happened was I wasn't paying attention. I had one coal mine. That coal mine, because my potato area didn't have enough, the potatoes weren't coming out quick enough, the potatoes started coming shortly to the town. Just a little bit, tiniest little bit. But that little bit was enough to make my workers tired. Remember, workers have rest periods. And if they're not getting their needs fulfilled, they start taking longer to rest. Since they took longer to rest, they took longer to go to work. If they took longer to go to work, they weren't working as long. It's all connected. So the coal mine then had workers working like 75% of a shift and lower and lower. And then since there was no coal mine workers, then all of my empire, since all of it takes fuel, began getting less fuel. Next thing I know, every engine is saying fuel problems, fuel problems, fuel problems, and this slowed me down. I would highly recommend you watch a few things. One is to make sure that your needs are met. It's very simple. That's at the basis of the game. But make sure your food is met. Fuel can be taken care of as long as your workers go to work. But if your workers can't get to work because there's no fuel, it goes hand in hand. Everyone wants to expand, get quarries and stone and metal and bricks and all this other stuff going. Great. Good job. But make sure the most basics are covered. And every time you put up maybe 2 or 3 more industries, maybe debate the idea of putting up one more coal mine or one more potato farm for every big expansion to your town. Always look at it. Remember, it's also a free thing to look at. You go into your town right here and you click on it, you scroll right here, and it'll tell you, do you have any potatoes here? My town has none. This current town has not a single potato. My people are not happy. Rested 171, resting 38, working 831. I've got problems. I have to solve them. Let's go on to the next point, but please keep that in mind. You kind of saw it on a few seconds ago, but the town interfaces are different and the station interfaces are different than your empire interfaces when it comes to resources. Now, some of you might be like, what? Here's how it works. At the very bottom warehouse, when things go to the warehouse, they then appear up in this upper bar. Okay. Now, some of you are like, I get all this. That's fine, but not everyone does. So this bar will reflect everything you can upgrade with your empire in this bar. It's in your warehouse. You can see what's in your warehouse there. And as you get more resources opened up in the game, like bricks and so on, it'll start expanding this bar slowly but surely so you can figure out what you need. You cannot use items in your town or in the station in your town to upgrade your town as far as I'm aware. Meaning, if you go to this town and there is cut stone and stone in here, and I want to upgrade it, put it down a church, the first building that needs cut stone, you have to take the cut stone, send it down the line to the warehouse, and until it gets into the warehouse, it will not count in your network. Okay? Including that, however, is one thing you should make it a little easier for yourself, is knowing how the stations work. This station here has 80 out of 1,000 boards. Okay? This station back here, sawmill, click on it, has 855 out of 1,000 boards. It says up top I have 334. No boards count until they're in your warehouse. Now, you can upgrade your warehouse, and I'm not sure if I have this as a point later on. You can build on your warehouse. You can go right here, right now, and this button will pop up. You'll have small storage. Okay? A small storage can be plopped down. However, I want to make sure you're aware of something. Okay? And that's the upkeep costs. I didn't put it down for purpose. It's $250 per minute to hold that warehouse. Now, right up here, even with my empire being as big as it is, I'm only making a profit of $3,600. And that took some time to get to this point. Make sure before you dump down warehouses all over the place, because you can build them at sidings for stations as well as your warehouse. They cost $250 per second. That's a lot. Okay? Keep in mind. And from what I can tell, the one little trick I have here that a lot of you might not know, it seems to be worth it more to just have, instead of having more storage, which I am using some storage. These are distribution centers, not storage. They hold coal. But these little sawmills and stuff, it's just easier to build another sawmill, which as you can see, like here, let's see if I can show it to you really quickly. So I'm trying to move as quick as I can. A sawmill by itself costs $2,000 and the upkeep is $50. Okay, that can hold 1,000 boards. A warehouse down here, however, down for this, costs $5,000 and 250 upkeep and 2 cut stone upkeep. It's worth it more to build more industries than it is to build more storages on your warehouse. Now, if your warehouse is always running out because you click a button and it goes away instantly, then fine. But if you have the engines going to your warehouse consistently and the trains are running on time, you should be fine. Try to save some money yourself that way. And let's move on to the next tip. The next tip is about the tutorial. If you haven't done it yet, I'm going to have to ask you, this isn't a pride thing. This isn't a you're a dumb thing, you're a smart person thing. No, the tutorial is one of the nicest tutorials I've ever seen for trains and signaling in any game, and I've played a lot of them going back a long time. I've played all kinds of games where signaling ruins the game. Mashinki, anyone? So, do me a favor. If you don't know how signaling works, there's a tutorial on just signaling. Until you understand it left, right, and center, please go do the tutorial. The other tutorials, yeah, they're pretty easy. How to move potatoes in, how to change trains, which I kind of made a little bit better on some of the earlier points, but please, the tutorial is a lifesaver. If you haven't done the tutorial and you come in the Discord or you go on the Steam group and you ask questions and people are like, wait a minute, did this person do the tutorial? They're going to say, hey, go do the tutorial. It'll help you save a little bit of face if you care about such things. For me, it's more of a time thing, an efficiency thing. If you go do the tutorial, it's very quick. It might, all 4 of them combined, maybe take you an hour, and then you'll know how to do most things, okay? I hope that helps you out. Let's see, is that part of it? Let's see. I'm reading my little list here. Okay, here's how this will help you for this next piece. The tutorial will show you how chain signals work, and chain signals are the biggest pain in the ass for this entire thing. Signals work as thus. You get 2 train signals. You get rail signal and you get chain signals. Chain signals, I'm going to make this very simple. Right here is, you can see it. Here, let the train get out of the way. You can see that there's coloring. The coloring means it's a segment. A segment is controlled by the signal. Chain signals do like they say. They throw a chain to the next piece in the line and they're chained together forever. How do you know at a glance which is which? Well, the three signals correspond to the picture of 3 signals. So you know that's a signal going this way. You can see the arrow. The chain signals have 1 signal. That's all they are. And they tie. And you can see the directions. I know. Now, the easiest way I can make chain signals work for you every single freaking time and make almost every train game better is the way someone explained it to me. When you're going into an intersection that you want to control the intersection or control a very complex piece of real estate, chain in, but never out. Unless you have to do a complex thing, like something like this. Let me show you complex. Where can I be complex? What would be a good one? Here we go. This will be complex. Now, some of you might be like, what do you mean? There's 2 chains in, another chain here, and then 3 signals out, and this works flawlessly. And the tutorial will show you how to do that. If someone really wants me to make a guide on it, in this game specifically for this game, fine. Tell me down below. I'll do it if you really want to, but I think the guide will cover it better than I could. It's up to you, okay? Let's move on to the next point. The next one is going to cover if you have problems with your routes. Here's the best way you can fix it without having to go frantically, what's going on? If you see trains not moving and goods starting to get screwed up, scroll out. Press escape, scroll out. You will get this interface, which a lot of people don't even know for some reason, and that's fine. You're going to see your trains in different colors that you select. You can make all your coal trains red. You can make all your passenger trains green. You can make all your potato trains orange. You can make all of your lumber trains magenta. Who knows? You do whatever you want. It's your railroad. There's no wrong way to do it. But if you do that, you can back out with the color code that you set, and you can say, hey, noticing there's some magenta here with some I guess the passengers are kind of screwing up with some of the goods. And you know it at a heartbeat. Now, if you're like, it's still messed up, I don't understand. Well, if you can see there's too many trains, you zoom in and you go, what's going on? You click on the train, you can look what's going on here. Until these route consists are figured out, the train will sit there sometimes, but most of the time they're going to go pretty easily. And you can see with the chain signals, they're going pretty fast. This train here, they're just waiting for unload time, mostly because I have what's called, if you look at this train right here, if I can select it, no, I can't. This purple train, this was swap workers at the motorcycle club, which is what we call the motorcycle club, and until done or until time has passed. I'll cover that in another tip, but if you're going to try to fix your train, always look for the trains clogging first. And remember, that's why I tell you, move your stuff apart as much as you can. It does not hurt to have more space, okay? Let's see if I can do this one. Now, if trains run out of fuel, one way to fix them is to select the train and send it to the train depot. It's one of the few ways you can do it. If the slower they move, everything behind them gets clogged up. And if you want to fix it, you send them to the depot. However, if you have no coal at your warehouse, I believe that might not be the case. I'm not 100% sure on that. I wasn't able to test it before this video. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I give you as much info as I have and it's actually accurate. Let's go to the next tip. The next tip covers fueling. Fueling, I kind of touched on it before, how important it is, but it might not be said except for the tutorial, which you might have breezed through. So I'm going to say it for you myself. Every single station should have a source of fuel because you don't really, it's not perfect though. There are some of you that are probably like, oh, well, the next station could have it and I'm only going to go to 3 stations and the first 2 can have it and the third doesn't. And that's fine. I understand. You want to be the most accurate, perfect person in the world. I get you. And that's something I do too. I don't want to have all my stations having a tremendous amount of coal, but the way the game works, you might want to consider it until you become an expert. I'm not an expert, I'm just saying until you become an expert in your own mind. Here's how it could work that helps you a lot. I have my coal mines here pumping out a tremendous amount of coal. One train goes to these 3 buildings, the town and these 2. Another train goes to these 3. Another train goes to these 2. Make them very small. Like I've seen people put 20 different routes for a train. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And the train never catches up. Having small, significantly tight routes might help you. Now you can toy with it, of course. There's no perfect system, but it might work for you. Like for me, these 3 stations are tied together for one train. So the train will come up here, dump some stuff up, go in a very tight circle back, and again and again and again and again. This is not a good setup, by the way. It's just a test setup. The other one will go in a little loop around here, and even though he's going to go dump at the potato farm, he'll then stop. He has to go through the town anyway, and he'll, on his way home, kind of like this, he'll dump the extra coal at the town. If there's no more extra space, he'll take it along the line, back to the coal mine, and go back through the route again and again and again and again. Not bad. Remember, though, please consider it, because the worst thing you can have happen is have a long, long, long route, and you have like one train trying to service your entire empire, and he goes on that route, and by the time he gets back, everything else is falling out of fuel. Please keep it in mind. The kind of system I'm using currently is if I click on a train, if everything's fueled and there's still coal at the station, I'm okay with it if it's over 100. If it's less than 100 and the train's pulling back up, you might want to tie another coal mine into your empire and figure out what you want to do with it then. Okay? Let's go to the next point. This next one is really, really simple and really quick. If you name your stations and your cities very simply, it's very easy to find them. If you don't, your empire can get very large. This isn't even a very large empire. This is a very small one. This map is very large. This is barely maybe 15-10% of the map. And already I'm having trouble remembering which, because we had some weird names for a while. They're like, I have the biker bar and the motorcycle club. They're 2 different cities. Technically they are. I was like, which one's which? Because I'm playing multiple playthroughs and multiple games right now. So keep it simple. It's the KISS method. KISS. Keep it simple. Stupid works very well in very complex games. You already have the game being complex. The routes are very complex. Sometimes the production's very complex. What shouldn't be complex? Your own naming scheme. Let's move on to the next tip. This next one goes along with the former point. We're keeping things simple. For the renaming scheme will make things very easily. Well, it's part of it is also your industries. Let's say you want to copy and make another station, right? Well, here's how you're going to make it very simple on yourself. You're going to go down to the blueprint tool right here. And you're going to go, I want to make another station. Well, you're going to copy this. You can just make a box around whatever you want. However, it will not copy anything but the rail infrastructure, the station, the bridge of the station, the storages of the station, not the ones you put down later. Distribution will not be copied. As far as I'm aware, storage will not be copied. The rail will be copied. The signals will be copied. The direction of the signals will be copied. Nothing, no industry will be copied. No storage will be copied. Okay? You got it? Good. You can take it. Let's say we're going to go over here. Oops. We're going to go dump this station down. Now we got station 11. Well, wait a minute. I want to make this potato farm. Why is it called station 11? Well, it's because we put it down first. However, if you copy the whole thing and then dump it down again, like right here, notice how it takes the name of the industry. If you want to save a few seconds, not a lot, you can do that, and then it'll automatically remember your name, remember what industry it should be. Now, the reason I'm saying that is you're not going to go, I can count to more than 2. You're right, you can. But if you're putting down multiple industries again and again and again and again in sequence, let's say 10 farms, right? Potato farms. If you put the industries down and then put the little, even just put the station like this, you don't have to make a giant blueprint. You can make a tiny little blueprint like this. You can go, hey, I just want, this looks good right here. That little bit right there. Okay? You can dump that down next to each industry. Boom, 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 boom. And it'll save, it'll keep it in order for yourself. That way you don't have to remember, did I do 2 4s, 2 3s? When sometimes when you're making things between them, you can take a lot of extra time and you might forget. It's very easy to lose a lot of time. These games wants to become a time suck. Don't let them. One of the ways to do it is this. Okay? Hopefully that makes it easy for you. Let's move on to the next point. Okay. And before I forget about the point we just covered, one thing you should realize that you can copy bridges too, as far as I'm aware. Okay, so you can go like this and make the whole thing. Bridges get copied, signals get copied, routes get copied. Everything you draw underneath will be copied. You can dump it down, cut it, and I think if it's still paused, you're not going to be charged fully for it, but don't quote me on that. I think I'm wrong on that one. So you might want to just make sure you're copying the right amounts. So then we go on to this point. One thing you can do with a route, if you have an issue, let's say you're having this issue that I'm having, and there's too many trains, they're all trying to slam into this small area, and you're like, what do I do? Well, you can, of course, move trains around. You can shunt the side, have a little siding go on the outside, miss that entirely. You could reroute some of the trains, and another thing you can do is you can just bridge it. And part of that is our trains here and here and here trying to go somewhere past it that I don't know about. If the answer is yes, you might want to bridge the route. How do you bridge the route? It's very simple. If you have cut stone, which you're making, by the way, cut stone, this is kind of a bonus thing. Cut stone can only be manufactured in towns. I thought it could be made at the quarry. I tried to make it work. It didn't work. You have to take your quarried stone to a town. Then in the town, you have to put down what's called where am I sitting right here? It's a stoneworks. And the stoneworks has to be in range and have people who can work at it. And they will cut 12 stone, cut stone per minute. It'll quickly back up. Don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. But it will make a lot of cut stone very quickly. But you got to make sure you move it over there. You don't have to have every town do it. Because if not, you're going to be hauling a tremendous amount of stuff in and out. And you might not use that much. But it will help if you're going to make a lot of bridges. And bridges are great. So bridges can help you fix problems by going right over. Just drag it. Figure out what you want to do. If you don't like it, press escape. But if you do like it, let's say if it's like here, too much, too long, can't do it. Now it's too expensive. I don't like that either. Press escape. If you like it just fine, like that, okay, that's 70. Not too bad. Plop it down. Do I really like it? Copy it. Put it wherever you want. You can't dump it on, unfortunately, you can't dump it on an existing rail. But if you're going to bridge it a couple times, you could go like here, and then another one over here, and that kind of stuff. Your choice, whatever you want to do. But don't be afraid to bridge anything. This game is not punishing when it comes to routes, because the game does look like it's huge, and it pretty much is. But the problem is with the spacing they've used to make some of these towns stay manageable, probably for memory reasons. To get everything in and out the way you want it, you have to have very tight turns. Like this game will allow you to do something like this if you want to. You can make a rail, you can turn it right almost on itself so quickly. Like that's a very tight turn. Very few games will allow that kind of a turn. It doesn't really happen. So for them to make it easier for you, they make it where you can come over. You can't do it the way you think, but you can move rails around. But you can only go 2 different ways, and you have to go on a parallel line that is not turning. Meaning, I can go here, That's not a good example. I can go here, no problem. You cannot go diagonal. The game only allows you to go 2 different ways because it's a grid. It's not a hexagonal grid. It's not perfect, but for what they got, it's pretty good. So if you want to make sure, let's say I want a bridge right here, I have to literally take the route, go like this, move it down, go like that, put it over, and make an angle like that. The game isn't too bad though. It's not. I don't think that's a game breaker. I really don't. And that can go like that. Okay. You cannot use diagonals on bridges, and you cannot use them on stations. You have to have other side to side or up and down. It's your choice. Whatever you want to do. I've tested this pretty well. I was hoping to have some diagonals for stations here, but the station will not go in. I tried everything to make it work, and it just doesn't. So just make sure you keep that in mind. Let's move on to the next tip. The next tip covers how you should set up an industry. Set up the industry however you want. However, when you're about to send the train out there, a lot of you are going to pick it up very quickly, but to make your first routes work really well, put up your industry. When the station is down and it's named, then assign your first train to be a passenger train. Click on the industry itself and see how many people you need. It'll tell you how many we actually need very easily, very quickly here. It'll say how many in the bottom. 40 out of 40 is very typical for the first industries. At a certain point, it becomes 60. 1 train car is more than enough, especially if you put it on swap workers and send it. You should do that first. Why? Well, if you send the cargo train first to pick it up, there's no one, without workers, you can't load the train. If you send the workers and they are there and no train shows up, all they do is back up the actual amount of goods on the station. So, and it takes them a little while. Like these guys right now are cutting 60 boards a minute. So to fill up 1,000 boards will take them 15 minutes. So if you're going to plan an industry, make sure you take into account, it might take a while to get this industry going, especially if I have to send people over there. And if I have no workers, which you should check back at your town anyway. Like right now, if you go look to your town and go right to your main station, click on your station, it'll tell you how many people, how many laborers are ready to go. If you're going to set up 10 lumber mills and you only have 165 people, well, you've got 16 and a half people per station now. Maybe you should modify that before you do. Just a thought, not being snarky, just letting you know, okay? Also, the bonus thing, like I told you for this tip, the storages really add up, and they do add up in town too. They are both considered very, very expensive, and they will take a lot of time. This one here, the small storage in this one is a lot cheaper in your main town, but all it affects is stuff in your main town, like potatoes, coal, that kind of stuff that you're holding in your town. So be careful. Do not let your upkeep costs go through the roof. And the more things you add to your network, the more your upkeep spirals upwards out of control, like I said before. So please, if you're going to expand a lot, make sure you aren't at the very bottom. And you can check that right here on your supply. If your supply is production, it'll tell you at the very bottom, my production is 155 and my upkeep is 155. I am dead even. If I put anything else on this network, I'm going to start going down immediately, and I don't have to start waiting for trains to come in. If I have a coal shortage, things go bad very quickly. Keep that in mind. Let's go on to the next tip. This one is very simple. I've kind of spelled it out before, but I want to make sure I actually reiterate it. Having a storage depot at the warehouse cost me $250 up there for coins and 2 stone. The upkeep, sorry, I'm wrong. The upkeep is $250. The build cost is $5,200. Figure out if that's worth it to you. I want to make sure you see that, because right now we only make $3,500. If I put down 10 storages, I'd lose $2,500. And some people I've seen spam. They say, "Oh yeah, it's all right, spam, 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 spam." Don't do that. Please don't do that. You can't even do it for the first place because you need the cut stone in the warehouse, not in your town. So you have to ship it out here. But the coins coming in are capped. Make sure you know about the capacity is 300K, so you can very quickly get out of control. If you're hitting your cap, like let's say you have 299 and you're like, should I expand? The answer is yes, because if not, money's getting thrown to nothing. It just disappears. Not sure why it is that way, but I'm assuming the developer didn't want people to go, hey, turn on your setup, make sure it's flush with just everything it needs and let it go all night long. Wake up in the morning, have $20 billion. You never have to play again. People at min-max would do that kind of stuff. I think they try to avoid it, okay? Let's go to the next tip. We're almost done. This next one is going to cover something the developer put in, and I'm not 100% sure how it works, but I'm going to try to cover it because it threw me for a loop, and I want to kind of get an idea out there. This is routing, and routing can be very simple or it can be very complex. Some of you will really love routing, but you might want to see this part especially. We're going to say this one here. This is the motorcycle club, the main city to the warehouse. It's making cut stone. It's the only place that can make cut stone until you make another city. And I have it where at the main city, which is right here, a train will come in, and remember, trains do not work unless you have a station with platforms on both sides. I do not know currently if I make a bridge to this side and then put another bridge next to it like this, if I can even do this. I'm not even sure I'm allowed to do this. Like if I go like that, can I make another route like this? Or can I go like, actually, can I go like this? I'll have to test this. Will this, if I have a station on either side, or platform rather, on either side, and a thing up like this, can I actually daisy chain bridges down the line? I don't know. I'm going to test it, and there'll probably be another follow-up video for that when I do find out. Plus, if you have anything you want me to test, let me know. I'll try to do my best for it. But with routing, when the train gets here, the developer added a condition called until done. I think that is default to make sure if it has something like, let's say it goes to a town and it's hauling potatoes and the town needs potatoes, it'll keep unloading until it's done and it won't sit there forever. It's kind of like, this is basic until you learn what you want to do. I added in cargo at greater than 100%. If it hits 100% cargo, basically, it'll say, I'm done, go. Or until 20 seconds has passed. Whichever one happens first is why the reason I have so many on there compared to just one, or leave it on until done. So if you're like, why would I do that? Well, if you're going down to certain areas, I'm going to show you for the example I have, and this one is here, for example. It's literally called for example. It's all my sawmills, 1, 2, and 3. And what I have is I have them set up. I want to try the new one, so I left until done on there, and I put on cargo is greater than or equal to 100%. So if this train comes in and sits and fills up, the second it's at 100% cargo, it leaves. Okay? If 20 seconds has passed and it's still not full, it still leaves. Until done, I was asking around and people to say it's kind of a basic thing. So you can use until done. I have it in there to test it. It hasn't done anything bad to me so far. I haven't had any problems with it unless I have only until done left there. Now that's one of the reasons though, showing you this route consist of why my stations, even though it's only just a sawmill, have 3 lines, because this line is meant to be a offshoot. What happens, a train will come in and it'll stop at the main one. If another train is set up for it, it'll stop at the other one and wait to be loaded for a little bit of time. If you really want to be very efficient, you could have the second train that maybe just visits the 3, say, take up to 40 seconds. But please make sure you have extra shunts or sidings to make sure that, like this train, you can see the yellow. When you make a route, it'll show you where the train's going to go. So it'll tell you which way it's going to try to test. So what you can do to take advantage of this, if I have another train that uses the top track and this track over here is used by this train, I can make this train, the slower train that comes in once every 3 stations, being emptied, take 40 seconds or 30 seconds. How? You just click on the second and you move it up and down. You can leave it at 60 seconds. You can put it down to 20 seconds. You put it down to 2 seconds, 1 second. Your choice, whatever you want to do. If you're the cargo, 100% seems kind of big, Ben. You're right. Let's make it less than 100. But let's go like here, and we can move the 100 to 48%. You can do whatever you want. And you can even type it in. If you're like, I want to type it in exactly 87%, do it. But Ben, I don't like where the cargo being 87% is above the time. I want to make sure it's the other way. Drag it. Oh, that's simple. That's simple. Oh, there you go. That's how powerful routing can be. I wouldn't make this really super complex. Like doing cargo up to a certain amount or time passed usually is enough to cover everything. Usually just time passed is pretty good. It gets to a station, it has load. Just make sure you have this covered. You can have it pass through with a destination without stopping. So things like this, where I go over here and all these trains are stopping here, Why are they stopping? I want to use them as a fueling station because I didn't have fuel being pushed up to here. I didn't have fuel over here. I wasn't fueling here. It might be time to go pass through, and that's what these middle lines are for. Where there's no platform on either side to touch this middle rail, they can't do anything anyway. All they can do is get fuel. Keep that in mind in your setups. Let's see what else. Okay, let's go to the next point. And finally, let's go to our last tip. Now remember, at the end of the tips, I'm going to give you a couple little more bonus things or maybe some suggestions you might want to stay around for compared to leaving off. If you're this far in, hey, you deserve an attaboy or an attagirl or that or something because you're awesome and thank you for staying this long. The last one is on your route. If you're like, I really like this route, but it's all for passengers, and I gotta make sure I move coal now. Well, you hit left control and you hold left control to duplicate current route. I didn't see this in there. Someone had to point it out to me. And now you have a copy of your copy. And you can go in here and change it. And remember, since you can assign different trains, different routes, it's not bad to make copies and then just put different kind of cars on them to make your life a little easier. Okay? Now, the only other thing I can tell you is I am willing to do more of these videos because I love train games and I really, really, really want this one to succeed. The other one that I really like right now is Workers and Resources. I really enjoy Mashinki, even though I kind of gave a little nod to them about the frickin' signaling and stuff. I want more train games. So if you like it, consider, now that we're pretty much at the end of the video, debating the idea if you want to come back for more. That's up to you about subscribing. If there's anything else more you want to do for the buttons down below, that's up to you. I try to be very much an old school kind of person where I earn your subscription, not, you don't know who I am, subscribe. That doesn't work. It never has. It never will. So if you're this far in the video, mostly about 3/4 have already left off. Hopefully you'll consider coming back, and I will be making more of these things with other aspects, not just the top things of this or things I've learned. I'll try to comb the community, figure out what people want, because it saves people from having to go read guides. They can put me up on their extra monitor and watch it. If you like what you saw, we also have a Twitch channel where I'm a partner over there, and you can come visit and say hi if you want to. All the links are down in the description. Thank you very much for your time today, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you liked the video. If you did, maybe consider sharing it with some friends who do this kind of stuff too. These kind of games can be very daunting at the beginning. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible, even though the game itself is not the most complex. It's not meant to be. It's a good game. Hopefully this made it a little easier for you. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day and a good night, good afternoon, or actually more like good evening probably for most of you. Good night.